Revealed my stepsister's betrayal. She stole my fiancé. Now her marriage is ruined, and my parents disowned me. I caught my stepsister Sarah stealing my husband, which blew up her marriage and got me cut off by my parents. I'm Jack, 27, and I got married 2 weeks ago. I planned the whole wedding myself, and folks couldn't stop talking about how great everything looked. Sarah, who's 26, hated it and told everyone I stole her ideas. She's always been jealous, so this didn't surprise me, but it annoyed the hell out of me. Some family members with big mouths started asking if I really stole ideas from Sarah, which was TMT fair since I did all the work myself. Sarah has a long history of lying about me to make herself look better, and I'd finally had enough. When my mom married Sarah's dad, we were 16. Since then, Sarah and I have hated each other TM's guts. I tried being her friend at first, but she always turned everything into a competition. One time in high school, she spread a rumor that I was hitting on her boyfriend after I made the cheerleading squad and she didn't TMAT. That led to almost a month of all the girls hating me and making fun of me, except for a few. That's the kind of person Sarah is. For so long I let things slide because I knew she was just trying to get on my nerves. If I reacted, she'd win. But this time, I couldn't just let it go. I'd spent weeks planning my wedding, and she couldn't just swoop in and discredit me after all I'd done to make my wedding beautiful. I know it was petty, but once I heard she was telling people I stole her ideas, I called her to give her a piece of my mind. I told her to stop lying, but she laughed, called me a sore loser, and hung up. So, I decided to expose her and her husband Joe as the cheaters and liars they really were to the rest of our family. For context, Joe, who's 30, was my boyfriend when I was 23. I was living with my parents and Sarah to save money to move out. I met Joe at work and we hit it off instantly. He wanted our relationship to be a secret and did envy me to even let me tell my work friends, which should have been a red flag. After just 2 months, I brought him home to meet my parents, and Sarah met him too. I did notice it at the time, but she was flirting with him. I never imagined Joe would stab me in the back and cheat on me with her. I guess that's when they started texting behind my back, but I was blissfully unaware. After almost a year of dating, I decided I wanted to marry Joe, so I proposed. It was unorthodox, but I loved him so much that I couldn't wait around for him to propose to me, so I did it myself. I took him out for a fancy dinner at a high-end restaurant. At the end of the night, when I finally popped the question, he said he needed time to think about it. I wish he just broken up with me right then, but he dragged our relationship on for 3 more months, all the while cheating on me with Sarah. I was upset he rejected my proposal, but I still stayed with him, hoping I could change his mind. We finally broke up 3 months after my proposal when he confessed he was in love with Sarah and wanted to be with her. As if that wasn't TMT'd enough, he told me she was 3 months pregnant and would start showing soon, so they had to get married quickly. I was hysterical and got into a huge fight with Sarah, but our parents intervened and forbade me from speaking about it, fearing the family's image would be ruined. My stepdad was reasonably popular in town. I had no choice but to obey them since I was living with them at the time. They had a small and simple wedding ceremony in our backyard with a few close friends and family members. Sarah then moved in with Joe. I didn't TMT attend the wedding. I spent the entire week leading up to it in a cheap motel room, drinking and eating. A few weeks after their wedding, I decided TMD saved up enough money to rent a place of my own and moved out. That did nothing for my mental health, and I went into a deep depression. I just ate, drank, and slept all day. I even quit my job because I couldn't to bring myself to get out of bed anymore. But I had a friend who was looking out for me, and that was my current husband, Mark. He and I had been close friends since high school, but TMD never seen him as a romantic figure because he was mostly known for being the class clown. For several weeks after the wedding, I skipped every party hosted by my friends and refused to respond to any calls or texts. I thought they'd forget about me since they were all busy with their own lives, But Mark didn't dirt MTE. He was the only one who bothered to find out where I lived from my parents and showed up at my house. He took care of me for the next few weeks, even though I was mean and distant. He never left my side, even for a second, during those crucial weeks, and helped me get back on my feet. He even paid the bills for me since I didn't have any money after quitting my job. I literally owe my life to Mark, and I'm eternally grateful for what he did. After a few weeks, I told Mark everything about what had happened with Joe and Sarah, and he consoled me. We never formally got together. He simply moved in with me after a while, and that was that. We never felt the need to address it, and even today we joke that he never even asked me out. That was what happened, and I figured it was high time the rest of the family found out what really went down. I discussed my plan to expose Sarah and Joe with Mark first, and he was totally on board. He said that after everything those two had put me through, it was perfectly reasonable for me to want to tell everyone the truth. So a couple of days ago, I invited the whole family over to my place. I made sure to invite Sarah with the sweetest voice so she wouldn't suspect anything, and she totally fell for it. After everyone had arrived, I kicked things off by addressing the nonsense Sarah had been spreading about me stealing her wedding ideas. I reminded her that she never even had a proper wedding given the circumstances under which she got married. Some people laughed awkwardly, some looked uncomfortable, and some were just plain confused, but I kept going. I told her that since Chev DGTMD been accusing me of stealing her wedding ideas and making such a huge fuss about it, I should make an even bigger deal out of what she did to me. She stole my boyfriend and got pregnant by him. That earned a few gasps and shocked expressions from the guests, especially my parents and Joe, who went beet red. I laid out the whole story for them. By now, everyone looked like they've TMD been handed the juiciest piece of gossip on a silver platter. When I finished the story, there was a stunned silence for a good minute. Then Sarah jumped up and literally ran out of the house, with Joe hot on her heels. Gradually, everyone else left in silence too. The last to leave were my parents, who looked furious. They had the audacity to demand that I apologize to Sarah for humiliating her in front of everyone. I told them I wasn't going to do any such thing since Chef JTMD tried to ruin my life more than once, and she deserved every bit of this. Mark backed me up, saying they had no right to demand an apology from me when they never told Sarah to apologize to me, especially given how much worse what she did was compared to what I did. He also told them off for being terrible parents who didn't even bother to check on me after I got cheated on. This led to a heated argument, and I told them to get out of my house if they were going to be disrespectful to me and Mark. That was about 4 days ago, and I haven't spoken to any of them since. I know for a fact that the rest of the family is NVJTNMT speaking to Sarah anymore either. Chev EJTM's been cut off by everyone, and Chev DJTM's miserable. Chev DRTM's always been a social butterfly and can VDTMT stand that nobody VDTM's talking to her. A few hours ago, I got a text from my mom saying she hoped I was happy now that IVDJTMD ruined Sarah VJTM's life, since that VDJTM's what IVDJTMD apparently wanted all along. I mean, IVJTMM okay with whatever is happening to Sarah, since she totally deserves it. But my mom VJTM's accusation still stings. I thought after all these years, Chev VJTMD'd finally see my side and have my back. Now I'm feeling like the bad guy in all this. I don't no VJ, it sucks to be painted as the villain. So, am I the jerk for exposing my stepsister to the entire family? My mom is still mad at me for what I did, and blames me for wrecking Sarah VJTM's life. I'm not kidding. She's using those exact words to make me feel guilty. She's been texting me for days, demanding that I tell the rest of the family I made it all up just to get back at Sarah because I was jealous. She also said that Sarah and Joe are very upset with me and are considering cutting me off, which makes no sense since we already don't speak unless it's in public. We never reach out to each other unless we DJTMer at a family event, where we have to be civil. In fact, the only reason she was even invited to my wedding was because my mom forced me to invite her, saying it would look weird otherwise. I don't VDMT know why my mom thinks I owe Sarah an apology. IVJTMV decided to ignore all of it. I was pretty upset for a few days that my own mother was taking Sarah VJTM's side, but honestly, I'm used to it by now. I told Mark about what DTM's been happening, and he thinks the best thing to do right now is just to ignore her and let it go. That VJJTM's what I'm doing. I'm done with them. 2 days have passed since my last update. After posting that, I decided to block all of them. Only then did I realize how much this had been weighing on me, and I felt such relief when I finally cut them out of my life. I can't believe that for so long my mom forced me to pretend to be on good terms with Sarah, just so people wouldn't tempted to judge them for failing as parents. They couldn't be tempted to make Sarah a decent person, yet somehow I was the one who had to suffer for it. But yeah, anyway, I blocked them all, and I thought that would be the end of it. However, last night my mom came over and looked really disappointed. I didn't tempted have anything to say to her. After about 5 minutes of awkward silence, she started talking about how my actions had negatively impacted the family. I cut her off, saying there was no family, at least not for me. After she married my stepdad, it became clear over time that she preferred Sarah over me. Everything Sarah did was forgiven, but the same rules didn't apply to me. I told her how much TMD hurt me over the years, and that I wasn't VJTMT going to apologize or put up an act anymore. I was just done. She got really upset after my rant and tried to explain that she distanced herself from me after her separation because I reminded her too much of my dad, which was NVJTMT fair to me. Of course, I would remind her of my dad, but that was no reason to start treating me like I was just my father VJTM's child, and not hers too. I told her that while IVDJ try to understand her side of the story, I just couldn't VGGTM forgive her that easily and needed time. But no matter what my relationship with my mom was, I was in VJTM going to apologize to Sarah or pretend to be sorry for what I did, and I made that clear. She left looking really sad and disappointed, but that couldn't be helped. A day has passed since our last conversation, and while I have unblocked her, we haven't spoken yet. A week has passed since my last conversation with my mom, and she hasn't reached out again since. So I'm guessing VJTM's not sorry, which is fine by me. Honestly, IVJTMV come to terms with the fact that she prefers Sarah, and that's just how it is. Nothing I say or do is going to change that. But Sarah hasn't VJTM'd moved on and is back to badmouthing me to all our relatives. She's telling everyone that Joe cheated on me because I was a toxic psycho, and he found her company peaceful. Apparently, she's been saying I used to emotionally manipulate Joe into staying with me every time he tried to break up, which is why he ended up cheating. DJTM's also claiming I pushed him to get married, even though he said he wasn't VTMT ready, which scared him. Obviously, not one word of that is true, but now my relatives are divided on whom to believe since Sarah, unlike me, is a very convincing liar. One of my cousins has been keeping me updated with the lies TM spreading, and ITVJTM's. Just outrageous that TM's trying to paint me as the liar here when everyone knows the kind of person she is. My mom is NVJTMTT going to intervene. IVJTM sure of that. And IVDJTM not going to ask her to because JTMDL just refused to say anything to her favorite daughter. But IVJTM not letting this one slide either. If Sarah can go so low, then I can definitely go lower. IVDJTMV blocked her on all social media, but thankfully I know a lot of her co-workers and friends, and IVJTMM going to make sure everyone knows what kind of person she is. 8DVDJ/TM's petty and cruel, but IVDJEM glad I can finally stop pretending to care about her or her feelings, since JTM has never cared about mine. Even Mark feels that whatever IVJTMEM doing, no matter how petty and mean it seems, comes from a place of justified anger. I was forced to suppress my anger and resentment towards Sarah for so long that it was bound to bubble up and come out in destructive ways eventually. He thinks it VDTMM's better now than never, especially since JTM's been pushing me for a reaction for a long time anyway. So IVJTMBV decided IVJTMBM going to expose what she did to me to every single person who knows her. This time it certainly won VJTMTB pretty. So I did it. I posted everything Sarah had done to me with proof. I had a few screenshots of texts between me and Joe, and even some taunting texts Sarah had sent over the years to show I wasn't lying. I posted it yesterday, and my phone has been blowing up with notifications because of the sheer number of people texting me. To my surprise, it wasn't just my relatives reaching out, but also Sarah's coworkers and some acquaintances. They sent me texts detailing their own bad experiences with her. Apparently, Chev DJ TM's quite the office flirt, and flirts with every guy regardless of whether they've or married or not. As if that wasn't messed up enough, she also treats other women like crap and always talks behind their backs. So far, IVJTMDV learned she's a flirt, a gossip, and a backstabber, and the list just keeps growing. Sarah is furious I went public with this information, and has been trying to get through to me. She's made several different accounts to harass me into taking my post down, but she doesn't scare me in the slightest, so the post is still up. IVDJ Kiemum sure Chev DJ.TM's reporting it too, so maybe Facebook will take it down eventually, but I won VDJ TM be deleting it. My mom is also mad at me and has made it clear she expected me to handle this like a mature adult. Instead, she says I let her down and acted like a complete fool. She also said my stepdad was very pissed off about the stunts I've been pulling since it's affecting his reputation among his friends. He wants me to publicly apologize to everyone and delete my posts. If I don't VJ commit, they've DTML cut me out of their lives completely, meaning my entire inheritance would go to Sarah. It's funny they think threatening to cut me off is going to be effective in any way whatsoever, since I blocked them first. I don't VDJ #TMT care whether or not my stepdad wants me in his life. I'll be a little disappointed about my mom cutting me off, but like I said, I've accepted she doesn't VJTMT love me as much as she adores her stepdaughter, and IVDJTM okay with it. As for the inheritance, I earn well enough to support myself, and so does Mark. So it VDJTM's not like we VJTMter are worried about the money. When my dad passed away a few years ago, he left me way more money than my stepdad ever could. So IVDJTM not particularly worried about losing out on that. 2 days since I posted, and holy crap, that one post ended up opening Pandora of DJTM's box. First off, my parents obviously cut me off. When I told my mom I was in VJ till I'm going to take it down, she tried to convince me that losing my relationship with my parents was in VJTM worth it, and that revenge on Sarah should be my sole motive. I reminded her I hardly even had a relationship with them anymore, so I was okay with losing whatever little I had if it meant I could get back at that demon. This led to a fight, and ended with her blocking me everywhere, like I did to her first. It stung, but whatever. Yesterday I learned from my other relatives that Sarah and Joe were headed for divorce. I was very confused about what had changed overnight. After some digging, I found out through my cousin that one of her male co-workers who saw my post decided to text Joe. The co-worker sent him multiple screenshots of Sarah trying to flirt with him, and since he was already married, he was pretty uncomfortable. This didn't BDTM go down well with Joe. They got into a huge fight and decided to end their marriage. He filed for divorce and single custody of their son. It's sad for the kid, but honestly, IVJTMEM happy they VJJTMber are both finally being punished for whatever they put me through. IVJTMD cut myself off from the situation entirely, and I guess Sarah has learned her lesson now since ChevDJTM's kept her mouth shut after that post. It's crazy how one decision to expose Sarah ended up ruining her marriage, and quite possibly her relationship with her son as well, but I don't feel guilty about it at all. She brought this all on herself. From what I know, ChevDTM's moved back in with my parents because ChevDTM's facing flack at work too due to her behavior, so she might have to quit her job soon. I'm relieved I won VDJTP to have to deal with her and her craziness for the foreseeable future. To make sure I'm as far away from her as possible physically, Mark and I decided to leave for our honeymoon this week. We've DTMR going on a Europe tour, and IVDJTM super excited for what VDJTM's in store. I'm going to put all this dramatic nonsense about Sarah, my parents, and my family out of my head for the next few weeks and try to enjoy my life to the fullest. Hopefully, when I come back, IVJTM will be a better and freer person with less emotional baggage. Truth be told, now that IVJTMBM finally done with my family, I feel a lot less bogged down already. Mark and I packed our bags and headed off on our European honeymoon. We started in Paris, the city of love, and it felt like a fresh start. For the first time in ages, I was in VDATMT thinking about Sarah, Joe, or my parents. It was just Mark and me exploring new places and making new memories. We toured the Eiffel Tower, took a boat ride on the Seine, and enjoyed all the amazing food. Paris was like a dream come true, and it was just the beginning of our journey. After Paris, we went to Italy. We visited Rome, Florence, and Venice. Each city had its own charm, and we soaked up all the culture and history. In Rome, we marveled at the Colosseum and the Vatican. Florence was a feast for the eyes with its art and architecture, and Venice, with its canals and gondolas, felt like stepping into a fairy tale. Through it all, Mark was by my side, making me laugh and reminding me of what it felt like to be truly happy. As we traveled, I couldn't not help but reflect on everything that had happened. The more distance I put between myself and the drama back home, the clearer things became. I realized that IVDJTMDD spent too much time letting Sarah and my parents' VJTM opinions dictate my life. This trip was a turning point. I decided that when we returned, I wouldn't be JTMT let their toxicity drag me down anymore. In Spain, we danced the night away in Barcelona, explored the Alhambra in Granada, and relaxed on the beaches of Costa Brava. Each new adventure made me feel more alive and more determined to leave the past behind. Mark and I talked about our future, and it felt good to plan something that was just ours, free from the shadows of Sarah and my parents. Towards the end of our trip, we visited Greece. The ancient ruins of Athens were awe-inspiring, and the islands were a paradise. We spent our days exploring and our nights enjoying the local cuisine and each other VJTM's company. It was in Santorini, with its stunning sunsets and serene atmosphere, that I finally felt at peace. I knew that I could move on from the hurt and betrayal. I had Mark, and together we could face anything. When we returned home, I felt like a new person. I had left all the drama behind and was ready to start fresh. I blocked Sarah, Joe, and my parents on every platform and resolved to keep them out of my life for good. Mark and I focused on our future, and it felt like a weight had been lifted off my shoulders. I wasn't VJTMT carrying the burden of their betrayal anymore. I decided to channel my energy into something positive. I went back to work and threw myself into my career. Mark and I also started looking for a new house, a place that would be ours, free from any bad memories. We found a charming little home in a quiet neighborhood, and it felt like the perfect place to start the next chapter of our lives. Sarah continued to spread her lies, but I didn't care anymore. I knew the truth, and so did Mark. That was all that mattered. I had finally taken control of my life, and it felt amazing. I wasn't VGTM'd just surviving anymore. I was thriving. The pain and anger that had once consumed me were replaced with hope and happiness. Our new home became our sanctuary. We filled it with love, laughter, and new memories. We adopted a dog, a sweet little beagle named Max, who brought even more joy into our lives. Every day, I woke up feeling grateful for the life I had with Mark. We were building something beautiful together, and nothing from the past could taint that. I knew there would be tough times ahead, that VDJTM's just life. But I also knew that I had the strength to face whatever came my way. I wasn't VDJTM, the same person who had been shattered by betrayal. I had grown, healed, and emerged stronger. With Mark by my side, I was ready for whatever the future held. In the end, exposing Sarah and cutting off my toxic family was the best thing I ever did. It allowed me to reclaim my life and find true happiness. I learned that sometimes you have to let go of the people who hurt you, even if they VJTM family. It VJTM's not easy, but ITVDTM's necessary for your own well-being. Now, IVJJTMOM living a life full of love and positivity, and I wouldn't VJTMT have it any other way. A few months after settling into our new home, Mark and I decided to host a housewarming party. We invited our closest friends and some new neighbors, wanting to start this new chapter on a positive note. The night was filled with laughter, good food, and great company. It felt amazing to be surrounded by people who genuinely cared about us. During the party, I couldn't help but reflect on how far I'd come. From being betrayed by Joe and Sarah to cutting off my toxic family, I had finally taken control of my life. I was no longer the same person who was constantly hurt and manipulated. I had grown stronger and more resilient. After the guests left, Mark and I sat on our porch, sipping on some wine. We talked about our future plans, from traveling more to possibly starting a family. It felt good to dream about the future without any lingering pain from the past. Mark was my rock, and with him by my side, I felt unstoppable. One day, while scrolling through social media, I came across a post about Sarah. She had lost her job due to her unprofessional behavior and was now struggling to find work. She had also moved back in with her parents and was having a hard time adjusting to her new reality. Part of me felt a twinge of satisfaction, knowing she was facing the consequences of her actions. But another part of me felt a bit sorry for her. Despite everything, she was still a part of my past, and it was sad to see someone fall so hard. However, I quickly brushed those feelings aside. Sarah had made her bed, and now she had to lie in it. I had my own life to focus on, and I wasn't going to let her troubles affect my newfound happiness. I had wasted enough time on her drama, and I was done. Mark and I continued to build our life together. We took weekend trips, explored new hobbies, and strengthened our bond. Every day felt like a new adventure, and I was grateful for the fresh start. I no longer felt the weight of betrayal or the sting of my family's rejection. I was free. One evening, while we were out for dinner, Mark surprised me with a small velvet box. Inside was a beautiful necklace with a delicate charm. He said it was a symbol of our journey together, the ups and downs, the struggles and triumphs. It was a reminder of how far we'd come and how much we had to look forward to. I was touched by his thoughtfulness and felt a renewed sense of hope for our future. As the years passed, we continued to grow closer. We celebrated anniversaries, birthdays, and small victories. We supported each other through tough times and celebrated the good ones. Our love only grew stronger with each passing day. I couldn't to imagine my life without Mark, and I was grateful every day for the love and happiness we shared. One summer, we decided to take a road trip across the country. It was something we had always talked about, and we finally made it happen. We packed up our car, loaded Max in the back seat, and set off on our adventure. We visited national parks, small towns, and big cities. Each stop was a new experience, and we created countless memories along the way. During the trip, we had plenty of time to talk about our dreams and aspirations. We discussed our future in more detail, from starting a family to possibly moving to a different city. It was exciting to think about all the possibilities and know that we had each other to lean on. As we drove through the picturesque landscapes, I realized how lucky I was. Despite the hardships and betrayals, I had found true happiness. I had a loving husband, a supportive group of friends, and a bright future ahead of me. The past no longer held any power over me. I was free to live my life on my own terms. Looking back, I wouldn't VJTMT change a thing. Each experience, no matter how painful, had shaped me into the person I was today. I had learned valuable lessons about strength, resilience, and the importance of surrounding myself with positive influences. I had grown, healed, and found happiness in the most unexpected places. Mark and I eventually made our way back home, our hearts full of memories and our minds full of plans for the future. We knew that no matter what challenges came our way, we would face them together. Our love had been tested and proven strong, and I was confident that we could handle anything life threw at us. In the end, exposing Sarah and cutting off my toxic family was the best decision I ever made. It allowed me to reclaim my life and find true happiness. Sometimes you have to let go of the people who hurt you, even if they've legitimate our family. It VJTM's not easy, but IVJTM's necessary for your own well-being. Now, IVJTM living a life full of love and positivity, and I wouldn't VTMT have it any other way. As the years went by, life only got better for Mark and me. We settled into our new home, started new traditions, and made plans for our future. One thing that remained constant was our commitment to each other and the love we shared. Sarah and the toxic family drama seemed like a distant memory, almost like a bad dream I'd finally woken up from. One winter, just before Christmas, Mark and I found out we were expecting our first child. The news filled our hearts with joy, and we couldn't wait to start this new chapter together. We began preparing for the baby, decorating the nursery, and planning for our little one's arrival. It felt like everything was finally falling into place. During this time, I occasionally heard updates about Sarah through the grapevine. She was still struggling, hopping from one job to another, and dealing with the fallout of her own actions. My mom had tried reaching out a few times, but I kept my distance. I knew it was best for my own peace of mind to stay away from the negativity they brought into my life. As my due date approached, Mark and I grew even closer, if that was possible. He was my rock through the entire pregnancy, always there with a supportive word or a loving gesture. I felt incredibly blessed to have him by my side. Our friends and neighbors were also wonderful, showering us with love and support as we prepared for our baby VJ/TM's arrival. When the big day finally came, Mark was right there with me in the delivery room, holding my hand and encouraging me. After hours of labor, we welcomed our beautiful baby girl Lily into the world. The moment I held her in my arms, I knew my life had changed forever. All the pain and betrayal from the past seemed insignificant compared to the overwhelming love and joy I felt in that instant. Lily brought even more happiness into our lives. Watching her grow and change every day was a miracle. Mark and I were completely smitten with her, and she quickly became the center of our world. We cherished every moment from her first smile to her first steps, and we made sure to capture it all in photos and videos. One sunny afternoon while Mark was at work, I took Lily for a walk in the park. As we strolled along the path, I thought about how far IVDJTMMD come. From the depths of betrayal and heartbreak to the heights of love and happiness, it had been a long journey, but one I wouldn't trade for anything. I was stronger, wiser, and more at peace than I had ever been. A few months later, we decided to take another trip, this time with Lily. We wanted to show her the world and create new memories as a family. We traveled to beautiful places, introducing her to new sights and sounds. Seeing the world through her eyes was an incredible experience and brought us even closer together. As Lily grew older, we continued to teach her about love, kindness, and resilience. We wanted her to know that no matter what life threw at her, she had the strength to overcome it. We made sure to surround her with positive influences and to shield her from the kind of negativity I had faced. One evening, after putting Lily to bed, Mark and I sat on our porch, reminiscing about our journey. We talked about our struggles, our triumphs, and the love that had carried us through it all. We knew there would be more challenges ahead, but we were ready to face them together, as a family. Looking back, I realized that exposing Sarah and cutting off my toxic family had been the best decision I ever made. It allowed me to break free from the chains of my past and create a beautiful future with Mark and Lily. I had learned to let go of the pain and embrace the love and joy that surrounded me. In the end, life is about the choices we make and the people we choose to keep in our lives. I chose love, happiness, and positivity, and I couldn't be more grateful for where that choice had led me. Mark, Lily, and I had built a life full of love and laughter, and I knew that no matter what came our way, we would face it together.